woman in Lauderhill, Florida bought her condo in 2023. Since then, her HOA fees have skyrocketed. In the past year alone, she's been hit with over $10,000 in special assessments.
Dozen and a half condo owners in Fort Lauderdale. They're being forced to sell their building because of new state laws that require repairs with big price tags. A shocking assessment for one condominium in Miami this week. They're being asked to pay $175,000 each towards their 40-year recertification.
She went on camera in tears and said, "My concern is that we look like we're going to lose our property, and I'm crying." Her neighbor, a single woman living on one paycheck, said the same thing. "I pay a mortgage. I don't even have money to buy groceries with." When she raised her concerns at a board meeting, the president told her, "If you can't afford to live here, you need to move. Subscribe and hit the bell." Move where? She owes more than the unit is worth. She can't sell without writing a check. She can't stay without going broke. She's trapped, and she's not alone. There are hundreds of thousands of Florida condo owners in the exact same position right now, crushed between assessments they can't afford and a market that won't let them leave. The statewide condo market has 13.2 months of supply, with prices down 6.1% year over year and 92% of major condo markets declining. 40% of Florida condo owners have faced special assessments in the last 3 years, and nobody, not the media, not the politicians, not the real estate industry, wants to talk about what's really happening to these people. Today we're breaking it all down: how the trap was built, who's inside it, and what, if anything, you can do to get out. Section 2 is where we show you the specific buildings getting hit with six-figure assessments. Stay for that. And if you own a condo in Florida or you're thinking about buying one, subscribe and hit the bell. We cover the Florida condo crisis in detail every single week. Let's get into it. First, how the trap was built, because this didn't happen overnight. It was decades in the making. On June 24th, 2021, Champlain Towers South in Surfside, Florida collapsed in the middle of the night. 98 people died. The investigation revealed years of deferred maintenance and inadequate reserves. The building had known structural issues for years. The condo board had delayed repairs to keep fees low, and when the concrete finally gave way, it killed almost 100 people in their sleep. Florida's response was sweeping. In May 2022, Governor DeSantis signed Senate Bill 4D, fundamentally changing how Florida condominiums must be maintained and funded. The law requires mandatory structural inspections, called milestone inspections, for all condo buildings 3 stories or taller. Coastal buildings must be inspected at 25 years, inland buildings at 30 years. After the initial inspection, buildings must be re-inspected every 10 years. But the inspection requirement wasn't the bomb. The reserve funding mandate was. Before Surfside, condo associations could vote to waive or reduce reserve contributions. This was standard practice. One estimate found that only 5 to 10% of Florida condo associations had properly funded reserves, and roughly half had no reserves at all. Boards kept fees artificially low for decades by kicking the maintenance can down the road. It made condos look affordable. It made monthly costs look reasonable. And it created a ticking time bomb underneath 1.5 million condo units. As of January 1st, 2026, associations can no longer waive or reduce reserves for structural components. Every building must now conduct a structural integrity reserve study, a detailed engineering and financial analysis covering 10 major building components, including the roof, structure, waterproofing, electrical, plumbing, windows, fire protection, and elevators. And then they must fully fund those reserves. Buildings that deferred maintenance for decades must suddenly fund reserves at levels many owners cannot afford, leading to special assessments of $50,000 to $200,000 or more per unit. Let that number sink in. A retiree on a fixed income living in a 2-bedroom condo is being handed a bill for $200,000. On top of their mortgage, insurance, and regular HOA fees, because the building they bought into never saved a dime for repairs. And this is Section 2, the specific buildings getting hammered, because these numbers are staggering. The cricket club in North Miami levied up to $134,000 per unit. Mediterranean Village in Aventura assessed up to $400,000 per unit. $400,000. That's not a maintenance fee, that's a second mortgage. One Fort Myers condo owner listed at $350,000 and ended up selling for $110,000, a 42% loss, just to escape. Monthly HOA fees in Miami-Dade high-rises jumped nearly $500 per month in 2025 alone. Insurance components averaged $377 to $438 per unit per month. Professional management fees have risen 40% plus. Some buildings now charge over $2,000 per month in total association fees. Miami-Dade median monthly fees went from $567 in 2019 to $900 in 2024, a 59% increase in 5 years. Tampa saw a 17.2% year-over-year jump, the steepest in the nation. One association manager in South Florida described how a single building needs $4.17 million to catch up in year one. Moving forward, reserve funding will be $750 per unit per month on top of the standard HOA fee. That's $750 a month in reserves alone, before insurance, before maintenance, before the mortgage. A condo owner in St. Petersburg picked up a second job just to pay the increased fees. A condo owner in Jupiter called the laws a knee-jerk reaction and said fees increased dramatically while services went down. A board president in Pinellas County said the legislation really put a lot of boards and condo owners in a tight position to finance these repairs. Folks, if you know someone who owns a Florida condo, share this video with them right now. This is the data that could change their financial future. And if you're not subscribed, hit the bell. We cover this crisis in detail every single week. Now let's talk about why selling isn't an escape, because this is where the trap snaps shut. Over 1,400 condo associations are now on Fannie Mae's financing blacklist. That means conventional mortgages can't be used to purchase units in those buildings. Buildings that haven't completed milestone inspections, have significant deferred maintenance, or carry reserves below required thresholds are ineligible for conventional FHA or VA financing. Your buyer pool just shrank to cash-only purchasers, and cash buyers are going to lowball you. Miami-Dade had 14 months of condo inventory. There were 251% more condo sellers than buyers in August 2025. For every one buyer, 3.5 sellers. Statewide condo prices have dropped 6.1%, the steepest annual decline since 2009. In Broward County, condo medians fell to $250,000 and have been dropping for over a year. Punta Gorda condos down 18.6%. Cape Coral condos down 14.2%, Northport condos down 12.2%, Miami-Dade condos down 7.2%. So you can't afford the assessment, you can't afford the HOA, your insurance has tripled, your unit has lost 10 to 20% of its value. Your building is on the Fannie Mae blacklist, so most buyers can't get a mortgage to purchase it. And when you do find a cash buyer, they're offering 30 to 40% below what you paid. That's the trap. Can't sell, can't hold, can't afford to stay, can't afford to leave. And the scale of this crisis is enormous. Florida has roughly 1.5 million condo units. Post-Surfside legislation affects buildings 30 years or older, which covers about 900,000 of those units. 900,000 condos, the majority of the state's condo stock, are now subject to mandatory inspections and reserve funding requirements that most associations were never prepared for. Now let me be clear about something. The laws themselves aren't wrong. After 98 people died in their sleep because a building wasn't maintained, structural inspections and reserve funding are necessary. Nobody wants another Surfside. The problem isn't the law. The problem is that decades of deferred maintenance created a $50 billion to $100 billion repair deficit across Florida's condo stock. And that bill is now being handed to individual owners, many of whom are retirees on fixed incomes who bought these units precisely because they were affordable. Florida lawmakers introduced HB 913 and SB 1742 in 2026 to ease some of the financial burden, offering financing tools, extended timelines, and clearer rules around inspections. But the fundamental problem remains. The buildings need the work. The money has to come from somewhere, and the owners are the ones holding the bill. So what do you do? If you're a Florida condo owner, the single most important thing you can do right now is get ahead of your building's financial situation. Request the milestone inspection report, review the structural integrity reserve study, ask your board what special assessments are planned or likely. Find out your building's insurance status and whether it's eligible for conventional financing. The worst position to be in is discovering a $200,000 assessment after your neighbors have already listed. If you're considering selling, understand that timing matters. Every month, more owners in your building reach the same conclusion, more units hit the market, and prices drop further. If you have equity and you need out, acting sooner is almost always better than acting later in a declining market with rising supply. If you're considering buying a Florida condo, do extreme due diligence. Check the SIRS report, the reserve funding level, the milestone inspection status, pending special assessments, and whether the building qualifies for conventional financing. A $250,000 condo with a $100,000 pending assessment isn't a $250,000 condo. It's a $350,000 commitment. If you're a renter in a Florida condo building, understand that your landlord may be facing the same financial squeeze, and that could mean rent increases, deferred maintenance, or the unit being sold out from under your lease. Here's the bottom line. Florida's condo crisis isn't a market correction. It's a structural repricing of what it actually costs to own and maintain a condominium in this state. For decades, the true cost was hidden: deferred maintenance, waived reserves, artificially low fees. Now the bill has arrived, and it's arriving all at once for hundreds of thousands of owners in a market where prices are falling, insurance is crushing, and buyers have vanished. The woman in Lauderhill who cried on camera wasn't exaggerating. She's living the math that millions of Florida condo owners are about to face. And nobody wants to talk about it, because the answer isn't simple. The politics are messy, and the scale of the problem is overwhelming. We're talking about it every week. Subscribe, hit the bell, and drop a comment telling us, do you own a Florida condo? Have you been hit with a special assessment? What's your building telling you? Those real-world stories help everyone in this community see the full picture. See you in the next one.